afternoon, everyone. It's noon on Wednesday, and we're looking forward to getting out there and sharing with you yet another Lunch and Learn. Today with us, we've got Rob Mitchell. Rob is a PLS out of our Mount Lake Terrace store up there in Seattle. Rob, we're glad to have you with us here today. Let's just turn this right over to you and let's take over, sir. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Douglas. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate taking time out of your lunch to have a sandwich and maybe learn a little bit of something of interest in the survey, engineering, construction world. I'm going to start sharing my screen. So I'm Robert Mitchell. I've been with Kuker-Ranken for 11 years now. Today's Lunch and Learn, we do Lunch and Learns every Wednesday at noon for 20 minutes to half an hour. And the topics range from anything from survey-related field software, survey-related hardware products, GIS-related products, drones, anything that has in our industry of architecture, engineering, construction tools. Today, I'm a licensed surveyor, and that's my passion. Today, I'm going to talk about some field software updates. Leica has their main software is Captivate, and I'm going to discuss what's new in Captivate 8.0, which just came out a couple months ago, and also kind of piggyback on that, talk about release notes and how important they are. Not critical, but they are a tool that sometimes you don't think about or don't, release notes are kind of the last thing. You just want to get the updates. So let's get right to it. I'm not a PowerPoint person so much. Kuker-Ranken's I love this slide, but we've been around for 100 years. Okay. I'm going to get out of this, but this is the front page of the release notes, and it talks about some things I'm going to go over. So right now, for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to kind of do parallel things. I'll talk about and address maybe some highlights of what I think of is new in Captivate 8.0, as well as talk about release notes and why, things you can access and things you can look up, resources available. So this is just a PDF. I think it's 20 some odd pages long. It's the release notes for 8.0. And I want to talk about just the meaning of 8.0 itself and where you can get these release notes if you're a surveyor. If you have a Leica product, whether it's a scanner or a collector or a total station, you have access to Leica My World, and it's a really good resource for the inventory you have, as well as manuals, as well as firmware updates, as well as the release notes. So I'm just going to go into one of the collectors that is one of my demo collectors. Here's a CS20 data collector. And if you page over to the software tab, it's self-explanatory. It's where you can download software, latest updates. You can download individual applications that, if you're in mines or you're doing tunnel work or construction layout, you can access some of those individual applications. And if you look, here's my controller. This actually I just updated to 8.0, so you can save that while I'm looking at it. If you look down at the software tab here, right at the top is the release notes, and the release notes number is 8.0. And below that is the firmware file that you can download and update your controller. You can update your GPS related to the appropriate piece of equipment you have. What the release notes are, this is what that PDF is related to. I downloaded this, and if you go back, you can look at the versions previous and download the release notes of what was applicable in those versions. So my point is, you can see 6.0. Let's see how far back it goes. It goes quite a ways back into the 2.0 series. But 6.0 was a big update. And then in the 6.XX versions, there are 3 updates in that probably took about a year. And then there was 7 in the last year. And now 8 just came out. And anytime there's a big version jump from 7 to 8, it usually means there's some significant updates, and there are significant updates, and that's what triggered me to do a lunch and learn on 8.0, because I knew, historically these big jumps mean big improvements. Some of these ones in between are features that have been requested and they finally got to it, or there are glitches that they found, and so they do like in what I call an engineer update, which fix some of those glitches. So I wanted to kind of mention that you can go back, you can look at release notes and see what is new. So let's look at quickly the Captivate release notes for 8.0, and then just the table of contents itself. The release notes, new software features is chapter 2 or contents 2, and that'll talk about software updates, and I'm going to highlight a couple of those in a minute. And then some total station specific updates, which relate only to the total station. Some GS or GPS specific. There is one update that I will mention. And then some really cool stuff at the bottom, which you never think about. And I always direct people or send this PDF on. And because at the bottom, it talks about how do you do the updates. If you want to download this file, where do you put the firmware folder? Where do you do the tool to actually do the update? Those sort of things are down here in, chapter 7, 8, and 9. And what does it work with? Those sort of things. And how do you update if you have an AP20, which we've done a lunch and learn on, how do you update that? You can download the latest version for that. So there's really good technical information in this one release note that they've been improving on the release notes over time, where it's like, how do I update my GPS antenna? And right here, it's all at the bottom of the release notes. Okay, now to go back up to the top, we're just going to go down a little bit. What release notes it works with, what it's compatible, little chart, what's fully compatible, what's not. And then here we are at chapter 2 on page 5 of the release notes is Leica Captivate, new software features, which is the topic of today. When I suggested this topic for our lunch and learn, I was like, well, the content won't be that great. And it's amazing to me whenever I dig into these. I could talk for, I could bore for half a day on just these release notes and the improvements that are in these field software to provide you better efficiencies out in the field. Okay, so new Captivate features. This is a good one. This is obviously some recommendations. I'm going to go to, I have a simulator here. Go back to the job carousel. This is the field software Captivate. These are the applications that you can utilize in the field. This simulator is simulating a total station MS60 or TS16. There's all sorts of things we've talked about in the past on this, and certainly give us a call if you want to look more into this. But in the past, we have a lot of clients that have big projects or multiple days on one job, and they've assigned jobs to a site and filter by site. So this job carousel, these are all jobs related, gets pretty long. And you might be on just this KR 2022 job every day for 2 weeks, and you don't want to carousel through all of them. So you can create a site and then appropriate each job per day to that site. So this filter is new. So it filters out all the jobs that aren't related to what you're working on for the next 2 weeks. It's a kind of an efficiency thing on the job carousel. All the jobs are in there. They're just immediately hidden from what you're working on and what's current. That's one new feature that filters out and adds another layer to your jobs, so that instead of some companies do by day and then they download the day, and so eventually in a week you got 5 jobs, but it's all related to the same job. It actually adds like a sub or a root folder for a job site. These are, you can see, let's see, I want to go down to one that I can show you also that I really like. It's on page new circle. I'm going to show you that in a second. The big one, like the one that I think has everyone kind of excited about, is the ability to allow sharing the link of an exported file via email address. So with, when COVID happened, even before COVID, people were working remotely and they were sending job files out, control files. Here's a stake file, here's a DXF. And they were either on a laptop or a tablet, or there was some, Leica has a pretty robust system called Leica Exchange. But everyone that I talked to is there an option for, sending back and forth an email? We want to send a text ASCII file or a text file, or, back to the office, or we've calculated some property corners that the crews need to stake. We just want to email it to that appropriate person. So in 8.0, they've added in the export routine, and I believe I can do that here. Typically what you would do is you have a job, you can import and export data, and you would put the export data on either, on a USB stick or an SD card. But you have the option now, let's say it's just your typical point northing easting elevation code, share download link via email. And you put in the appropriate email, you're out in the field, you said, here you go. It also downloads to your USB stick and it shares that link. Upload has been canceled. Maybe I don't have internet. But since I did this before, I already have the link appropriately. Let me find it. Here it is. Hexagon GeoCloud. It comes in my email inbox. I go to the file here, and it's a downloadable ASCII file. I download it once I get the cloud link on, and then download the file. Save. Yeah, I've downloaded it twice. Okay, so basically there's the downloadable ASCII file. Control them on. So this feature in the release notes is new because, or not new, but it's kind of a big deal because since version 1.0, how do you transfer data back and forth? Can we email it? Yes, you can email it. You can minimize if you got a tablet. You can minimize if you're even on a controller. But the ability to just do it within the field software is pretty great. That you can just export right out of the job. That's a big one that I really liked. There's some other features here. I wanted to just highlight a couple others. On the CS30, you have now the ability to kind of minimize Captivate, so you can run, you can see that, you can run other programs in the background. You have a certain amount of screen size. You can make Captivate the full screen, but some people want to put DXFs or plan sets or, information that's in the background, so you can toggle between, and Captivate's just kind of a, not a full size screen, which is an improvement in 8.0 because previously it was only took the full screen and you had to exit out in order to run the program. So that's in these release notes. I do want to get to GPS because that's a big one too. Here's some of these tunneling applications which are very unique that they've improved on. Here's the total chapter 3 total station specific. So this AP20 in the background has in previous versions, AP20 was new in the 7.0 series, and in 8.0 you have the ability to do resection work. So if you're going to do a resection for control for your total station setup, you can now utilize the tilt sensor in the AP20. Allow using AP20 compensation in the setup application, which is new. and it's pretty nice. And then chapter 4 is this one I have not tested, but I'm very interested in because it's GPS specific, and the topic is improved, right? Improved RTK performance over short baselines. And what got me as I was reading these notes, with Leica 8.0, the GPS positioning algorithms, whatever the algorithms is, the math inside there, have been improved to provide higher RTK availability over short baselines and long baselines if you're using network solution. The inspected improvement, particularly visible in challenging environments, in canopies and buildings and so on and so forth. So as more and more heavy construction are using it near, difficult environments with buildings, as GIS or environmental people are using it in river crossings and wetland flags and dense woods. This is very interesting to me for the ability to achieve, RTK positions in difficult conditions, and that algorithm improvement is very interesting. So I'll be testing that out, and that's one of those things where we have quite a few. It also, by the way, I looked further into these notes. In the first chapter there, it says, the old GS14s, GS16s, the GS18s, they all have that ability to get a better resolution in difficult conditions. So that's big because, in challenging conditions, GPS is a great tool, and that improvement is big. And that's the only feature for GPS in 8.0 that's been improved on. And then if you look at chapter 5, these are things that are fixed, right? They said Kogo inverse does not display the grade. Let's see, right here's where I'm talking. Does not display the grade value if it's deeper than 89. And then it says it's been improved. The issue is now fixed in 8.0. All these little glitches. And I've gone back here when people have asked me, and we've looked back in release notes to see if some of those glitches have been improved. And we work with our service department downstairs, if it's total station specific or GPS, and we do a little investigation too. And we will find that there's an issue that a customer has brought up to us, and we pinpoint that it has been fixed in a version. So these are, this is not just a lost page 20 of release notes that aren't looked at, because we have actually found some solutions. And then down at the bottom again is how you upgrade the firmware, where you get the firmware, and more information on how to, improve or update your controller, update your GPS. That's a big one. So all that information is in these release notes, which are, I find excellent. And then I want to, all the things I just kind of highlighted a little bit. If you just, do your typical Google search, you'll find, on YouTube, Leica has their own page that you can subscribe to, which I do. And here's a 4-minute video on the hardware and the software. This hardware one talks about both the total station improvements, shows you visually, and he has a Swiss accent. He's great. And then it talks about the GPS as well, but he just mentions it. And then I think there are some, he's under some trees, and you get an idea of what better solutions you can be provided. And then he talks about the software. And then another point of resources, if you're on LinkedIn, this person, Elke Hacker, I recommend her page, because she is the person that does the testing. And she's the one that we go to, not we, but, North America surveyors go to when asking for, hey, this would be a great improvement, or is there glitches? And she does the testing with her team, and she posts stuff about, here's right here, I saved this one, A Moment in the Life of a Tester. 8.0 is released, and you can find all sorts of information on that. And she also does, testing on the Leica Infinity PC software component of it. And so she's a great resource as far as the LinkedIn access, and she's over there in Heerberg, Switzerland, doing all this testing. And those resources are like anyone can can get to. I always go to the videos myself first because I can, have it on the side or pause it and, visually see it as a visual person. Some people like the PDFs. So that PDF of that release notes for 8.0 is 26 pages, which is one of the longer ones because it is the big update. But all of it's fun. Like I said, the content in here becomes great. And usually people like to test things, but they don't know what they don't know. So if they just even peruse those 20 pages of the improvements on the TS, they'll find, oh man, I did not know it could do that with coding and line work. I did not know that hotkey is now included. So I've been wanting to talk about release notes for a while, and I always mention it, and I always try and bring it up to new clients or existing clients to, peruse it together. So I think it's a great topic, and as boring as release notes or, what's new in version 8, it's important, and you could get a lot of use out of it in efficiencies for your company or for the work you do. So I think I hit my 21 minutes. All right. I will look to Douglas to see if we have any questions and go from there.
There we go. Took me a moment. Couldn't quite get my microphone to unmute there. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
We did have one question. Let's see. What equipment is version 8 compatible with?
What equipment? Good question. Great question. Okay, so I'll show you.
And while you're looking that up, Rob, same person had a follow-up question. Can I upgrade from version 4 to version 8?
Yeah, that's okay. So that's a
two-part.
Let me address the first part and then the second part because there's a little bit of a caveat on the second part. So general information, if you look at what 8.0 is updatable to, and then, the TS 13, 16, MS60 and the GPS related, basically most of the equipment that has Captivate on it. But this table down here, I do like right
If you're not sharing screen any longer, you'll want to call that back up.
Yep, let me call it back. Share.
There you
Okay,
go.
so the question is, I have a TS15 and a CS20. I want to update my CS20 to 8.0. No problem. What do I need to be? What version on the TS15, which is the generation before the Captivate? It's a Viva series, Leica instrument, total station. And so once you read this a little bit, SmartWorks Viva 9.0 is compatible with a CS20 8.0. So that's a call to one of us. We have offices in 5 states with Leica representatives in all of them. So if there's any question, I certainly would recommend that. And going to the second part of that question is, can I go from 4.0 Captivate to 8.0? No problem. But that's a few years of updates. So I would first call rep wherever you're located and make sure your customer care package is up to date. And then usually with those kind of 4 versions, you want to go a version at a time as far as the updates. So what I'm saying is you go to version 5 and then you go to version 6 and you go to version 7 and then 8. We can do it at our service or we can do it at our offices. But the reason it's like you want to do a version at a time is because it's been probably 4 years is what I'm guessing, 4 or 5 years. And so the leap from 4 to 8 I've done, but you may be missing something that has been needed in one of those updates, without getting technical, or even what might happen in the firmware from 5 to 8. There might be like some algorithm or something that is required.
That gets us through all the questions that we've had come in this morning. We'll give it another 5 seconds or so to see what else we've got while we're waiting. For those that are are looking for our next Lunch and Learn schedules. Next week, we've got Jeremy Kippen exporting survey data from Infinity. Then on October 4th, we've got introducing Wingtra fixed wing UAS with Brady Rice. So we're going to be looking at using fixed wing on survey sites. Then on October 11th, an introduction to Utah's LTAP and how they use equipment, drones, and other kinds of survey equipment in the field. That's going to be with Ben Goddard out of our Salt Lake City store. And then we've got part 3 of our Leica Captivate series that comes up on October 18th. So we've got quite a few Lunch and Learns coming up that you want to be taking part in. And Rob, I think that brings us to the end. So no more questions have come through. So we'll thank everyone for attending today and bid you adieu. We'll see you all next Wednesday at noon. Bye for now, everyone.